Okay, good. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semchen tamche dewatang dewe jutang den pa juchik, dungal tang, jungal chichutang trawa juchik, dungal mepe dewa tampatang minrawa juchik, nering chaktang nitang drawe, tangrong chempola nipa juchik. So good morning to all of you properly. Never mind a few mishaps. It doesn't really matter. Nothing of matter matters. Okay, it really doesn't, honestly. So we're going to start this lovely new subject, Edith said, realizing the truth about what deep practice reveals to us, which is, this is part one. It's a beautiful subject, and I think actually it goes very well with the 100 deities that I was talking about in the temple yesterday. I think it really goes very, very well because it gives you a lot of the details of the things I was just briefly touching on. Like a lot of people, one or two people asked me, but can't we go on with the teaching that you gave yesterday? And I said, you surely can. You got to get into one of my groups because I can't come and do it, individually with you. But I do this, I teach it all the time. And I think a lot of you would have found yesterday a lot of the things you understood very well, right, Mimi? Didn't you find you understood a lot? Yeah. For some people, it was really shock treatment. It really, really was. Tat, what did you want to say?
I just wanted to request if you could go through the book with us.
Oh, that, yeah, you know what?
Because I know you're an expert.
No, I wouldn't, because there are lots of things there that I know about that I wouldn't be prepared to teach you. Ask Lamalena to do that, okay? Because I wouldn't be prepared to teach them, not because I don't really understand them, but because I don't have the permission to teach them. But let's see what happens. You never know, how it'll evolve over time. Everything evolves over time and everything. And yesterday was a teaching that I would never have done a public teaching on it because it's a very difficult subject. But I cannot begin to tell you, like I felt yesterday, that I was doing a teaching for Guru Rinpoche. I felt like that was the teaching that I put it all together like that very easily, very easy for me to do it yesterday. And I think that's how it is. Eventually the moment comes when you do it. And don't ask me what made me decide to do that yesterday, because it's a very complex subject. And I don't know why I decided. I could have done something like negative emotions or something like that, would have been easy and fine, but I didn't. That was what I needed to do in that temple yesterday. So it was good. So yeah, but I teach lots from that book, don't worry, okay? So this subject, I really want I want to explain what I'm going to do over the next couple of sessions. But I first want to take an afterword from the Bardo Guidebook by Choki Nima Rinpoche, when he spoke about his mother passing over. And this is what he said. My mother, Kunzang Deshen, you're like this, Tati, passed away on April the 24th, 1991. Though she had suffered from the painful disease of pancreatic cancer for months, she never uttered one word of complaint. Wow. Asked to write a eulogy relating her life and death to the teachings expressed in this book, I feel it is best said in her own words. So this is what she said. Now that my time to die has come, I have no attachments whatsoever. Brilliant. When I was young, I was afraid of death. For that reason, I practiced diligently my whole life. Now I have arrived at the brink of death. I've heard, like as though she doesn't know, I have heard that the best practitioner is happy to die. The next best is fearless, and the lowest has no regrets. So think about those three things. The best practitioner is happy to die. The next best is fearless, doesn't have any fear. And the lowest has no regrets at all. I do not have any fear or regrets. The moment this track of my material body falls apart, I will fly off like a bird escaping from a snare. My request now is that the lineage holders have long lives in order to benefit all beings. It is my wish, here comes your aspiration, Tati, that you love. It is my wish that I can take upon myself whatever physical obstacle any of the lineage holders may experience so that they can be free of them. That is my aspiration. How's that? For as you're about to pass, to think about that. Most of us would think, oh, I'm in such pain. Oh, where am I going? Oh, I got to concentrate. The mind going. She just said, I'm ready to go. And my aspiration is that all the people who can teach, that I take on all their obstacles. Such an amazing thing, isn't it? Because I really think I needed to start this teaching with that. Yeah, Tati?
Sorry. No, I just wanted to show what I decided to do. So I bought this tiny little notebook, and then when I have an aspiration, I can write it in one page. So, you know what I mean? So you can add, you know, an extra thing.
No, you can. If you have that extra thing, I think it's amazing, because I think then every time you have a new aspiration, you just write it down. May I, can I, may I do this? It's wonderful.
Maybe I will get a proper book.
Definitely. I think that's so marvelous to do that. And that's very, very great. So the vast teaching that we are about to embark on comes from the book, The Fearless Lion's Roar, which consists of profound instructions on Dzogchen, the great perfection. You know, it's often called the great completion. The great perfection, it's often called the great completion, which are the teachings given by NYOSHUL Khenpo Jamyang Dorje, who gives his own teaching plus the commentaries on Jigme Lingpa's The Lion's Roar and Longchenpa's Resting at Ease in Illusion, those two texts he's doing. So I'm going to take a particular chapter from this book that I really love. It's called Meditational Deities, and I'm going to teach you, but I want to say to all of you, yesterday I was like a speed train, okay? What I realized is that I've got a lot to say in a very short time, and so I rushed through things. Now, I do not want to, you can all go back if you weren't there and listen to the recording, I hope. But you know what? In this, I really do not mind at all if, like, Tatiana puts up her hand and makes a comment or makes a question. Because for me, we must make these groups much more discussion, and we can have more discussion next time. But it's really important that I don't just give you all his profound teachings and you're trying to digest them. You must say, but Melanie, this or this or this, so that we can really talk and debate, so that it really goes into your heart. And before starting, I want to read his little poem called Rest in Natural Great Peace. It's a little poem this big, and I want to read it to you, and I want you really to listen, which appears before the whole text even begins. This is what he says. This is his main advice. Rest in natural great peace. Your helpless mind, beaten back by calmer thoughts and emotions, like incessant pounding waves here in the limitless ocean of samsara. It's a beautiful poem. Rest in natural great peace. Your helpless mind beaten back by calmer thoughts and emotions, like incessant pounding waves here in the limitless ocean of samsara. And I think this little poem says everything I want to teach. How do we deal with our very difficult lives created by our own human minds? How can we not be distracted by these incessant waves? Only by resting in the natural state, which is unaffected by the pounding waves, it's the only way. Now, I'm looking back to yesterday. It was quite funny because, you know, Bernice likes everything to be absolutely in order. And I'm very grateful for that, because I like things to be in order for sure. But, you know, I'm very happy to go around things, in things, trust other people. But she likes it absolutely be like that. And it was a difficult thing to accomplish technologically, because here was this woman, Dipam, that none of us knew, was giving her commentary on how she had done the tanker painting, and we had to put it all together. She was in Taiwan, wherever she is, and you know, we were here, and then I wanted to do the Zoom, and we had the television with all the pictures on, and you know, I had this technical guy telling me all the time what to do. So it was really a difficult thing. But it's so strange, because in the morning, you know, Bern was worried. I hope we can pull it off. She'd made a meeting, and then someone went and messed it up and all those kind of things. And what I want to say to you is, listen to this poem, because it's so interesting. Because in the end, nothing of the pounding waves of your emotions and constant thoughts of your human mind matters. None of it matters. Now, when there is, I know sometimes there are lots of difficulties come into being, but when there is a kind of a feeling of surrender, then suddenly something else takes over. Now, you know, I looked yesterday at the different people I met who came up to me afterwards and said, "Don't you remember me?" I remembered some of the faces, but of course I can't remember all the details if they saw me 30 years ago or something. I mean, I can't remember the details or anything. But you know what? It fascinates me how when you surrender and you do things, like the first time I heard I must do the 100 deities, in my mind, I heard that, and I knew this is a difficult subject in a short time. And are you sure you want to do it? But when it plops into your head, when you are in the state where you can rest in great peace, then the mandala starts to work through you. So then you meet this one, and you do this one, and you go this way, and you suddenly realize this, and you suddenly realize that. You just surrender instead of the constant, total pounding of your brain with your human thing. Now, we could discuss this with pleasure, and next week we can discuss it more. I just want to go on a little bit with what I'm going to do with you. But it is such an interesting thing, because I'm living at the moment in a very demanding life. Not only am I teaching and counseling lots of people, but I've got a whole lot of people that are really, really bad, and maybe close to death, or maybe really having a hard time. And we're moving. So I'm running to see what the guy's building, you know, I'm running to see what he's building. And then I look at it, and then my husband said, "Do it this way." I go, "Okay." You know, he's got good taste. What am I going to fight for? Thank goodness he's going back to the shops today. He pulled me out on Saturday from my spirit. "Come on, you've got to come and see what you want," and things like that. So we have to do that. But suddenly, in a moment of peace, you actually realize none of this makes the slightest matter. If he wants it like this, so be it. If he wants it like that, so be it. I'm looking at the mandala of the new home that I'm offering you know, for people to really heal and things like that. And that's much more important to me, whether we have a brown couch or a blue this or a green this or whatever the case is. So important, you know, at this stage of our lives. So what I'm saying is there's a process of surrendering. And when you get into a deep, profound dilemma and wheel and turning upside down and not knowing where you are, that's when you don't run to make a solution. You run to go inwards, to sit with yourself, to just allow it to evolve. And Pema Wangyo Rinpoche, I'm sorry that Nicola's not here because she loves him, who was a student of NYOSHUL KHENPO for several decades, writes this about his teacher. Not only was Khenpo Rinpoche extremely learned, but his teachings were also based on his own immeasurable experience. Now, Burn, not now, but when you have a time, you'll put the pictures of Khenpo up because he's always in his pictures, he's got this radiant smile. My favorite picture is when he is sitting next to Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche or Dajjom Rinpoche, I can't remember. And he's sitting there with the biggest smile you've ever seen in your whole life. He just thinks it's the most wonderful thing to be sitting with this master. He said, as a person, he was incredibly kind. He said about his teacher, Khenpo, he always made us feel at ease. I received many teachings, empowerment, and transmissions and instructions of the Nyingma lineage from him, but now listen carefully, as well as being extremely kind. NYOSHUL KHENPO was also a very strict and uncompromising teacher. Now listen what he made Wangyo Rinpoche do, and lots of us have read his books on dream yoga and everything like that. He's terrific. He says, as a prelim to receiving his instructions, he made me reflect just on the 4 mind changes for about 5 years. Imagine if a teacher said to any of us, look, I'll give you the empowerments, but for the next 5 years, you are going to sit and contemplate precious human birth, impermanence and death, karma, cause and effect, and the suffering of samsara. And I ask, how important is it to reflect on these for 5 years? When you say to Western students, listen, reflect on these for, you know, for this week. They already think it's a lot, okay? But the bottom line is reflecting on 5 years, this tells us, I mean, he was kind, but an uncompromising teacher. You want the top instructions. See that you put in the real basic preliminaries. And we such books, excuse my language, because we don't, you know, got to do a little bit. So we moan, and then we do 500 human things, and then we can't get to there. And he says how important it is to reflect, but for 5 years. And what does this tell us? It tells us we can only get the pith instructions once our field of our minds is totally prepared. Like sunflowers to the sun, the mind inside must be looking at something really, really important. All the preliminaries till the field. And only then are we ready for the ultimate truth. You can't go from your human conditioned state straight to the ultimate truth. You need purification and accumulation of merit and wisdom. Now, sometimes people have that from previous lives, and then they can get it. But otherwise, we have to have that basis. It's really, really important. So, you know, I was thinking, like, I know when I started doing the preliminaries, the Nondro, there were about 35 people in the class, and none of them did it properly. But it's so funny because I did it poorly, but I did it because something in me knew that I had to do it. So I just went on and on. When I finished doing it, like at least 3/4 of that class hadn't even got to the second one. So I'm just telling you that basically we're lazy, and basically we actually put all our energy into our human life and everything else. And these masters who attain enlightenment, they put all their energy into the enlightened state and into their practice. Now we can't, because of our karma. We've got so many karmic obligations. When I look at some of you who are actually fairly free in your lives to do what you want, that is immense merit. Like David, when I think of your life, you were able to intensely do your business life and everything else, at the beginning of your life, which probably gave you no space for anything else. And then into the spiritual life. Now, that's an amazing thing, it's an amazing meritorious state. Here you are on a Monday morning when people in your situation would be directing board meetings and things,
The thing is, now I've got to figure out how to do 400,000 repetitions of the mantras. And that's not that easy to do.
That is not easy to do when you get older, trust me. Because sometimes, by the time I get to my 12th prostration, I'm huffing and puffing and all of that, and I say to myself when I'm doing it, Melanie, if prostration. But you know what? Let me tell you a little word of advice. If you do one prostration correctly, with the correct state of mind and the correct attitude and the correct total devotion, it will serve as the same as 400,000. Okay? Because truly, it is the depth that you give to all of this. Now, what I'm going to teach you is exactly what NYOSHUL KHENPO teaches when he teaches about the Vajrayana practice. It's fascinating, okay, really fascinating, because it's the practice that can get you going, but it's you need to have cleansed, and you need to have accumulated merit by helping, by serving, by doing all these kind of things, and by doing your practices with absolute devotion. And to me, that figure, I remember the Karmapa saying, you know what? I'm going to tell everybody they only have to do 30,000 or something, not 100,000. The whole thing is, it's really why they give you that number? Because they're trying to motivate you to clear yourself up. But really, especially when you get older and you've got a really clear mind about what you want in enlightenment, which a lot of you have, it's really good enough to just do a few with real devotion and dedication and with real understanding of what you are doing. When you do a prostration, you are actually cleansing everything in all the channels, in all the chakras and everything. And I'm telling you, when you start doing it, you can feel it coming out of your body. It's quite unbelievable how it actually works. It's really important. But anyway, I wasn't going to stick on that, but I think it is a really valid point. And you know what? I think that what I was saying about you, David, is that it's amazing that you found the time to do it, and yet you supported your family and everything, and you did what you had to do. That is very, very important. It's very meritorious, because lots of people do it and then they don't do a spiritual path. They sort of sort themselves out financially, materially, whatever, but then they still don't take a spiritual path. Either you are that kind of person. I just can't see anything else to do with my life. I could see all the other things, but they're by the by, you know. It's just really, you know, sometimes when my children go, oh, Ma, you this and you this and you this, you know, then I think to myself, tough luck that you feel that way. Too bad that you feel that way. You know, these children of today, they think they can sit and critically evaluate you all the time. You know, they really tell you what to do, how to do it, because they think they've got a little more technology than you. So what? What's technology? In another age, you know, you'll already be technological advanced. You won't even need technology. You know, this AI, it gives me the creeps. Sorry, I can see the benefit of it, but it gives me the creeps. When on my phone it comes on and says, do you want AI to summarize everything you've done? Then I go, no, thanks. Okay, I've managed for all these years without AI intervening, some little being, you know, who says, I don't have feelings. I want to ask AI, can you advance spiritually? I want to see if these beings can advance spiritually. Maybe they can. Maybe they come from another planet and they've got advanced spirituality. I don't know. Maybe when it gets more sophisticated, I don't know. But I'm just saying to you, has it made people better? Have social media not just rocked our minds backwards, forwards, sideways? Has it helped us? When I say to somebody, oh, you know what sounds, yeah, I've seen it on social media. They know everything about what everybody else is doing. Do they know everything about their spiritual progress? Definitely not. So let me read you what David Christensen, who translated the book The Lion's Roar, said. These teachings of NYOSHUL Khenpo were given during the 3-year retreat at Tekcho Rinchen Ling, Le Marais, France. Due to Khenpo's ill health at the time, he very rarely taught from text. Yet due to Rinpoche's kindness, we were still very fortunate to receive all the teachings and instructions included in this book that are not related to the 3 texts mentioned below. Also, when Khenpo did teach, he spoke, it was literally like receiving a whispering transmission, as Rinpoche spoke very softly to ease his headaches. Interesting, because like a whispered lineage. However, in the final years of our retreat, when Rinpoche began to practice the yogic exercises of the channels and energies, there was a noticeable improvement in his health. At that time, NYOSHUL Khenpo offered to teach from a text and asked me for some suggestions. I had a copy of Longchenpa's trilogy of resting at ease. I've got that trilogy. It's very interesting because I'm going to tell you about Longchenpa in a minute, because that was NYOSHUL Khenpo's first inspiration, okay? Khenpo agreed to summarize the essence of it and then also followed that with his teaching on Longchenpa's last testament. His last testament was called Immaculate Light, okay? Upon completion of this, Khenpo asked if I had any shorter texts, so I offered him The Lion's Roar of Jigme Lingpa. I would like to thank NYOSHUL Khenpo for all his teachings. Looking at this from this point in time, what we received from him was truly amazing. Among all the teachings I have been fortunate to receive from many great lamas, now listen carefully, NYOSHUL Khenpo's instructions have especially seemed to remain indelibly in my mind. On one occasion during retreat, when I was translating orally as Khenpo was teaching, it seemed very easy to remember Khenpo's words, even after he spoke for long periods of time. And this still holds true to this day. Rinpoche replied that this was due to the blessings of the Dzogchen Nongtri Chenmo, the great experiential guidance of Dzogpa Chenpo. the great perfection. I wanted to read that to you because it's such an amazing thing, because I don't nearly get to have that, but sometimes I actually understand. I try and explain it to my husband when it dawns on me, and of course, he doesn't know what I'm talking about, and he's not very interested in it, but I'm really explaining it so that I can hear myself and put it into words. So I could do it, I could do it to the bell or something. It would probably be the same. But what I realize is what he's talking about, the great experiential guidance of Dzogchen Khenpo, Dzogchen Nontri Chemo, that is something which once you are ready, and you are ready to receive the teaching, they just start appearing, and your memory can actually take them and remember them. I'm terrible because I read a book and I write in it and I write notes, and a year later I can't even remember that I read the book. Pathetic. But sometimes, when you start just having things that plop into your head, and what I realize, and that's why I'm very grateful to all of you, because what I realize is that my teaching is my practice. And it's only because of your dedication that it's able to plop into me, and then I can see what I have to do. And it's that lineage which all of you have got to start alerting yourselves to. So looking at the title, The Fearless Lion's Roar, I remember studying a Dzogchen text that explained the fearless lion's roar. I couldn't find where I read it, but it went something like this. When the lion roars, all the other animals and their sounds fade into oblivion. If you go to the game park and the lion goes, roar, you just see all the animals miles away fading into oblivion, running and being very, very quiet. And what that means is that when we are exposed to the highest yoga tantra teachings, okay, all the other approaches fade in comparison to the highest fearless truth. Now, I want you to just ponder this, because if it doesn't happen for you, and if you're not ready for that, it won't happen like that for you. And it's really okay, because a lot of people are going to take a long time in their lives and prefer to go on a pathway. After I got so many texts from this meeting yesterday. So someone said to me, they'd heard that Taisitu Rinpoche was going to do teaching online on certain Mahamudra teachings, and would I advise this person if he should really attend them? So I said, I really can't advise you, because I went on the Mahamudra path for quite a long time. And for some people, it's so suitable. For me, I couldn't. When we had to do those meditations with things in front of our eyes, you had to train the mind and train the mind and train the mind. I couldn't do it. And one day I went to NYOSHUL Rinpoche and I said, I can't do all these exercises. They get on my nerves. So he looked at me and he whispered in my ear, neither can I. So then I felt better, because I know he cuts through everything and he just goes to where he finds it. So I was very happy about that, because I felt really bad about it. Because when you ask me to do these long meditations of shamatha and all of that, it just doesn't resonate with me. But if it resonates with you, that's fine, absolutely fine. Don't think that I'm putting you off that, because for some people, this is a beautiful path. For me, almost from day one, I need to jump into the deep end. I watched when we first learned Tara practice. I remember Tanya was teaching us. I don't know if any of you might have been there, you two, yeah, the two of you, okay. And I remember, and Bern was there also, I think quite a few of you there. You know what? I remember she taught it. And then a whole lot of people went, oh my goodness, how do you do this? Can you teach me the hand movements? Can you explain? I just took it and did it. Okay, it's like I was very happy to jump in the deep end and ask questions much later on about it. I was just perfectly happy about that. That's my nature. That might have come from previous lifetimes. I don't know. So when I'm jumping and you don't understand, nail me down and say, no, Melanie, I can't get that. Give me the other way. But what we are looking at here is the lion's roar. Once you touch the essence of who you are, then everything else fades into oblivion. Now, I'm going to quote you from Dajjam Rinpoche. His sharp vajra of conscious awareness tantra, which when I read it, I photocopied it, put it into my daily prayer book. You all know I've got my bathroom book where I read prayers while I'm getting dressed in the morning and everything. And this was one of the prayers I photocopied, and I use it often, but I'm just quoting from him. He says, he goes into describing all the different pathways of each of the yogas and their approaches in beautiful poetic form. And then at the end, he says, all these approaches, paths, are spontaneously actualized facets of the great perfection. So each of those paths, when you come to the highest yoga tantras, each of the paths are contained in there. They're all there. And he says, like regarding water taken from the ocean as the entire ocean. He says, of course, if you take a little bit of water from the ocean, it's not the entire ocean. He says that's how it is. All pretentious claims regarding the fruitions are wearisome, he says. They weary him. So there's one fearless lion's roar. You get it or you don't. And David Christensen, and if you don't, it's fine, translator, ended his preface with this sentence: may all be inspired by the simplicity and directness of the Dzogchen teachings in these complex times. And just for those of you that are worried about it, because the Kaju lineage gives the Mahamudra, and I'm teaching you a little bit of the Dzogchen Khempo of the Hatha Yoga, I did say to Rinpoche when I was there in the 6 months, I said, Rinpoche, is it perfectly, Taisitu Rinpoche, I said, is it perfectly acceptable if we follow the Dzogchen path, the Hatha Yoga path, in your company, in your environment, in the Sherabling environment? And he said to me, the Sherabling is called, oh sure, but what's it called? Because I've got too many things that I've been thinking. But the word that it's called, Sherabling, Melanie, I just can't think of it. Anyway, the word that you had, Talpung, sorry, I remember now. Talpung Monastery, which everything comes out, Talpung Monastery. He said to me, I told you always called me South Africa. He said to me, South Africa. Okay. I obviously was never meant to leave here. What's he going to call me? He said, South Africa, Talpung, Talpung, the word of my whole monastery and setup, means all things are contained in it. He said, so everything is acceptable. Because Jamkhom Control Rinpoche, he was doing a retreat once when I was there. And I mean, he belonged absolutely decidedly to the lineage, that the Re-Mer lineage, which takes all the lineages into account. And he was always a Palpung, because he really did freely the Dzogchen teachings. Actually, all of them do. I mean, Akong Rinpoche, if I'd only known in the early days that he was a Dzogchen practitioner, he did it quietly, but he was purely a Dzogchen. So all of them have done it, but they have a particular thing in their lineage that they're supposed to actually, do. So I think it's really, really, really important. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything. I've got a bit waylaid because I was going much quicker into the text, but I think these are very important points in your practice. Does anyone want to say or ask or comment or anything about what I'm saying? Please do, don't be shy. It's important if you ask or question or put out your thoughts about it. I'm very happy. Please,
Mel,
Gail. Yes.
I find it very fascinating. You are so well read, and you can't get enough, and you read so many books, but you have a greater understanding of all these things than most of us do. And
Really?
I'm thinking, is it wrong to just sort of like take certain books and really totally, embrace them and sort of use them as your guide? It's always good to get other viewpoints and everything, but I find with all this information and all these beautiful teachings, it gets a little bit kind of confusing and distracting for me. I would rather take like a book and immerse myself in it and really, and I love that you opening us up to all these other things. But for me, I can't get too like carried away with so many different things. It confuses me.
You know what? I said bravo for your statement. I really love what you're saying. And I think that's why it's so important. That's why I ask all of you to talk and say what you feel, because I think what Gail is saying is so important. Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, he says, you Westerners, you think you've got to do every single Yidam deity. You think you've got to do Chenrezi, and you think you've got to do Tara, and you think you've got to do medicine Buddha and all of that kind of thing, and you change. He says, if you practice one deity, it's equivalent to all the deities. Now, I promise you, if I wasn't teaching, you see, I say to myself, shame, poor people. They got to come and listen to you. And I know a lot of these lamas, a lot of them repeat themselves. I know lots of them that I listen to on tapes and YouTubes and things. They repeat it 1,000,000 times. If you go to that teaching, they're repeating. Go to that teaching, they're saying it again. And that is perfectly fine. For me, I kind of want to stimulate you, okay, really stimulate you with lots of different kind of things so that each of you can find one avenue that you can go down. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say that if I give you a whole array of things to think about, then you find one and you pursue it, which is really, really beautiful. I'll teach such and such a thing. You can't say, well, I'm running to do that and I'm leaving behind that, because they're all the same. It's just that I try and find a variety of ways, because there are not many people that I know that are teaching groups on a weekly basis, okay? I kind of feel an obligation to make it interesting and read you stories and read you all sorts of things. So to do that so that it's never boring. I'd hate it if people were bored. You've got to be alert and awake. But what you're saying makes 100% sense to me. This little one sitting here with me in the room, Evelyn, I mean, You could give her Chenrezi for years and years and years. She would sit in the groups, you know, and do her Chenrezi and do her Om Mani Padme Hum. And she did her Om Mani Padme Hum with the biggest open heart. Then one day she heard me teaching the medicine Buddha again about it in the practice. So she didn't say anything. She goes home and she starts doing the mantra, not the practice. She starts doing the mantra. She's killing herself laughing. She starts doing the mantra of the medicine Buddha. And what starts happening? This little one has all the people, has all the people coming to her, all her family and everything. Evie, can you pray for so-and-so? Can you do this with the medicine Buddha? They all came around. So she comes to me and she said, Melanie, they all asked to pray for the medicine Buddha. So I said, so? She said, I'm not qualified to pray. I said, Evelyn, the only qualification you need is devoted heart. Nothing else matters. Your intellect doesn't matter. What you can absorb doesn't matter. You just need a devoted heart. When the medicine Buddha within you heard you reciting the mantra, so that Dada started sending you people that you've got to pray for. Well, go ahead and pray with your beautiful devoted heart. You think you need qualifications to pray. You think you need a BA and a doctorate and a master's and all the other garbage that we swallow in the universities. You just need a devoted heart, dedicated and sincere, and you've got everything because you've already got the Buddha nature in you. So it's really important for all of you to understand it. I'm in a situation different to you because I'm called upon to answer a lot of people's questions, to listen to what other people say, to go here, to go there, to go here, to teach people and everything. So I've got to know a wide array of things so that I can answer questions. Like now I can't even think of Palpum, you know, that's how my mind is at this point. But you don't need to do that unless you're doing the work I'm doing. You can just know what it fits with your beautiful, compassionate heart. So I love what you're saying. Thank you. Every word of this entire text of the Fearless Lion's Roar is worth pondering and learning. But that, I'm coming to you now, Mimi, that would take the whole year. Please, go ahead.
Mel, just apropos how we use our human mind and our energy, it came this morning, just as you were talking. Pema Chodron says, things falling apart is a kind of testing and also a kind of healing. We think that the point is to pass the test or overcome the problem. But the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. Then they come together and they fall apart. It's just like that. The healing comes from letting there be room for all this to happen. Room for the grief, for the relief, for the misery, for the joy.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. That makes such sense. That is how it is. If only we could do it without condemning ourselves. You see, that's the problem that I see with people. The minute they're going through all the falling apart, they start blaming themselves. They start not having trust in themselves. They start not wanting to be in this life anymore, even to that extent. And that's where we make the mistake. If things fell apart and we made mistakes and we did all these things and put ourselves together again, it would be perfect. Perfect. It's really important, honestly important for you to know this. Thank you, Mimi. That's a beautiful, beautiful quote. And what I'm wanting to teach you, okay, is to teach from NYOSHUL KHENPO's long chapter on the meaning of the meditational deities. He has a wonderful chapter. I think it's profound. And what I'm hoping to accomplish together with all of you is to find a true understanding of what exactly we're trying to achieve with doing Vajrayana practice, and how this is essential for those of you who would like to realize, not attain, realize, not attain some form of enlightenment in this life. Remember, with these teachings, it's possible to realize this in one lifetime. We have to truly understand that we already have the three kayas, enlightened body, speech, and mind within, but they're covered with the garbage of your ordinary body, speech, and mind. Now, I wanted to just, I really want to talk about I want to talk about this whole book in brief, but, you know, it is getting late, and to go on to that chapter, but I've got to say to you that there's so much on the subject matter. And, you know, when I go through my notes, I've got all these suitcases of you know, notes in all the different subject matter. When we went to the house the other day, I go to Joss, he says, I go, where can I put my suitcases of notes in this house? He goes, is that all you care about? I go, oh. That's all I care about. Where can I put my notes so I can take them out and see what's in them, you know? But you know what? I found 2 lectures that I'd given long ago, and Bern laughs. She says, I forgot you always write out all your things. But I found such deep things that I wrote many, many years ago. And I thought, I got to hold on to these 2 while I'm teaching you the meditational deities. It's really important. But the stimulus for NYOSHUL KHENPO, and I've always thought he's absolutely amazing. The stimulus for NYOSHUL KHENPO is Longchenpa and Jigme. Now, Longchenpa is right at the top of the lineage of the Dzogchen lineage, of the Ningting, of the Longchik, Ningtik Longchen. Let me just get it right, the names. He is the one right at the top. And then quite a few hundred years later, Jigme comes on, and he is an emanation of Longchenpa, but quite a long time. There were other beings in between, okay? And these 2 bring you the heart essence teachings. Longchen Nintik, I think that's how you said. They bring you the heart essence teachings of everything that we need in our lives. And it's very, very, very beautiful to actually, in this book, they do give you the life stories of both of these. And I think they're absolutely their life story. What's the essence of the life stories is very, very, very interesting. Because both of them, Longchenpa and Jigme later, both of them just renunciated the world and went into these long retreats for years and years and years in the mountains, and completely attained enlightenment, and were really, really, really completely attained enlightenment into the Dharmakaya, and have left their beautiful teaching for us. And NYOSHUL KHENPO is a recipient of those 2 very, very great masters. But you know, when I read their life story, what happened with me and Jigme is that I saw one day that he had written this book called the Yeshi Lama. Okay, the Yeshi Lama. Anyway, it tells you, when I got the book, it tells you at the beginning of the book, you know, don't read this book, don't study this book, don't try and practice this book unless Keith Diamond tells you, he translates it, unless you have a master to guide you. Tells you that. It says, if you have got this book and you haven't got a master to guide you, put it on your shrine and leave it there. Anyway, so I was going to India, and I decided, not for the long retreat, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to go to Taisitu Rinpoche and I'm going to ask him to give me what I need from this book. I'm going to take the text and I'm going to take it to him. Anyway, I went and I had this book specially prepared. That's what I wanted to do there. And then he got sick. So he was in Delhi. He wasn't coming back. And then I thought, well, he'll come back before the end and I'll still ask him. And then he didn't come back. He was sick. He had to have an operation and everything. So I had this book on the shrine. Okay. And then I thought, no, this is my only real time. I'm going to start studying the book. So you cannot imagine the relationship that I formed with Jigmelingpa. I used to read one sentence about 9 times because it's so deep and it's got so many meanings. You have to really, really study it and ponder it. But that book was a total turning point. That text, not that book, that text which was translated was a total turning point to actually making that jump. Now, Longchenpa spent many, many, many of his years in retreat. I mean, he was before Jigmelingpa, a long time before, and he lost his mother and his father at a very, very early age, and then he went into retreat, and he was absolutely he undertook the life of a wandering monk, roaming the areas following around Lhasa, and then eventually went to this great master. He never had any offerings because he was absolutely poor, and the master said to him, I've been waiting a long time for you. And he went to this great master, and he really received. The master said, last night I had an amazing dream with very auspicious signs that indicated your arrival and our interdependent connection. Then when I saw you, I instantly knew that you would be the holder of my Dharma lineage. So just think how it works. It's so amazing when you are right. Now, we're not going to have great revelations like that, but we have little ones where we meet the right master or the circumstances are there. We have little ones. And I just want to read you, first of all, that he really offered many key pieces of advice, but he wrote down the 3 essential points for the benefit of practitioners in the future. And these are numero uno, to pray to one's spiritual teachers for blessings. So if you have a relationship with Guru Rinpoche, that's fine, or with one of the lamas, but pray for the blessings. To regard one's teacher as the embodiment of the 3 jewels, as a Buddha. And so pray to the teacher to purify one's obscurations and accumulate merit. And thirdly, to keep the samayas, the spiritual vows of the Vajrayana teaching. What does that mean? Most important, it means the Guru Yoga. You really need to do the Guru Yoga every single day. You can do a simple version. You can go and get my teachings on it, but you do the white bars empowerment into the head for the body, the red throat empowerment for the speech and the energy, and the blue, the absolute blue wisdom empowerment for the mind, and all together the hum, giving you the readiness of your whole beautiful mind. You need to do this every day. You haven't got a guru, you could do it, you could do both. You could do a guru and Guru Rinpoche. I always have Guru Rinpoche right in front, up atop, and allow those empowerments to come in. But it's really, really important. The Guru Yoga, in every single page of the teaching, it tells you about the Guru Yoga. And just in very, very brief, because it's really important, and we're going to do a meditation. He said, can you get it? Sorry. lost that page. When he wrote the Immaculate Light Rays, this is Longchenpa, he came to this world to spread the teachings of the great perfection. From the vast expanse of his wisdom mind, which was one with the Dharmata, or the true nature of all phenomena, his physical body manifested as a display of wisdom in order to benefit sentient beings. And he says, finally, at the end of his life, his wisdom mind dissolved back into the original space ground, free of fixation. And he said, for beings in the present and the future to gain the same realization as Longchenpa, they have the opportunity to be blessed by emanations, of his body, speech, and mind. If you have sufficient spiritual merit, then you can meet his wisdom body. But you have to pray with fervent devotion, because he attained the deathless state of the youthful vase body. And if you really want to, his last testament is known as the Immaculate Light. And if you really want to link with him, if you've read any of his stuff, you just pray to the wisdom body, because he's in the wisdom body ready to receive. And you just pray. Now, what happened with Jigme, he also was born in certain circumstances, and he went into a cave, and he prayed and he prayed and he prayed to Longchenpa. And then he had 3 visions of Longchenpa. One was with the enlightened body, one was with the enlightened speech, and one was with the enlightened mind. And of course, he just also dissolved into the perfect state. And now, when you read Jigme life story, he is supposed to have the space treasury of the Dakinis. They gave him their whole treasury into his hands to pass to beings. Just to give you an idea of how these beings were advanced. And NYOSHUL KHENPO really went under them. And so it's absolutely amazing when you think about it. And there was only one thing: dedication and devotion, nothing else. The simpler you are, the more dedicated you are, the more devotion you will get there. There is no doubt. And Guru Rinpoche says, once you have understanding, realization is certain. Is certain. Once you have understanding, the realization will come for absolute sure. It's really important. So I didn't even get onto his chapter, which I was going to go onto. It doesn't matter. Because also next week, a lot of you have been taking notes, and next week when we have our discussion, I love our discussion groups, because I think you can bring up anything in your daily life so that you haven't got too much bombardment of all this teaching, but you bring up all the things you're thinking, feeling, pondering, meditating on, including the Guru Yoga. The Guru Yoga, in every one of these texts, they say, you need to do the Guru Yoga. You need to do it. Why? Because you need to link your ordinary body, speech, and mind with the enlightened body, speech, and mind of the Guru. It can be Guru Rinpoche. You could do it Chen Rezi if you are in that. You could do it with Lama Yeshe Rinpoche. You could do it with Ekon Rinpoche. You could do it with Lama Lena Rinpoche. You could do it with any of them. And you do that, or your particular one, your Lama Tsering or whatever, and you can link them together with Guru Rinpoche, and you're clearing everything out. It's so important. It can take you 5 minutes or a half an hour or more, just depends how deeply you want to go. Just that open devotion. So let's just do a little meditation, then I'll answer your questions if anybody wants. Let me just give you the gong. Let's go back to that beautiful poem, which is very, very important, where he says, right at the beginning, rest in natural great peace. Very important. Your helpless mind, your human mind, beaten back by karma, thoughts, and emotions, like incessant pounding waves here in the limitless ocean of samsara. You need to rest in natural great peace. What does it mean? It's the essence of who we are. Before moving into the expression, we need to tap into the essence, pure, primordial purity, open, spacious, emptiness, full of possibility, ticking with awareness, ticking. We're going to learn about how that beautiful Dharmata mind is like space, but space has not got awareness, lucidity. Your beautiful essence has total lucidity, total knowing. The more you can rest in it, do it several times a day, the more you rest in it, the more you do that practice of trekcho, pure awareness, the more you will understand and know. So as you're all sitting here, just let everything in your life be. Moving houses, sorting out children, pounding your brain with what should I do next? Where should I go? How much work have I got? Have I got enough money? Just let all of those, don't repress them, just let them all be in the space of Dharmata, the natural peace. Nothing to do, nothing to achieve, just an open, devoted heart. Not only do you want to get there and to have that beautiful open knowing, but you want it to really help all the beings, your own and others in this world. That's what it's about. How do I appeal to the beautiful wisdom body of Longchenpa, the beautiful Chikmalimpa, who holds in his hand the space treasury of the Dakinis. Google them. Look at them. Put a picture of them. Just with your devoted heart, ask to be able to awaken and just know where you have to go. Remember Tulku Urjan's words. He says, lots of times during the day, even for 2 minutes at a time, much better than these long, complicated meditations. Just to stop. If you've got a view of the sky, just sit in it. La Milena also says with her Trekjaw teaching, just rest. See the beautiful openness of the sky. 2 minutes at your desk, on your way, wherever you are, just sit and be in touch. Sit and be in touch. Sit and be in touch. Tulku Urjan says, many, many of those little glimpses, and suddenly that whole part of you starts working through you. So let's dedicate, and then I will stay for questions, and then next week. Question on this, Karen, I'm sorry you were quiet today because I would have loved to hear your opinion on a lot of these things. We would like it. And we'd like you to put your camera on so we can all see you. Anyway, let's dedicate for all the miserable people in the world. Oi, and there are a lot, really. There are a lot. There's a big meeting going on today with going to go on today, which we dedicate all our teachings to, between Zelensky and Trump, and between all the things that are going on in the world, and the hostages who've been forgotten, and the starving people in Gaza, and the starving people in the Sudan. Even they in the most, I mean, when I see those women with their little thin arms that have got no food, it's too terrible. And I saw today in Afghanistan, in some of the villages, they haven't got water. These women have got no water to be hygienic with. That Taliban, I mean, just let's devote all these teachings to all of the world and all the people who are being pounded, and may they really find their truth and know that this is just an experience they're going through, temporary, transient. Through this merit, may all beings attain omniscience, may all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may all beings be freed. Sonam die tamje zipane, topne nepe tranam pamshene, jegana chi balak trupaye, sipe sole dua do warsho.